Hey, this is Grant Luna with Fidelity National Title, and for today's video, I'll be showing you two door knocking strategies, one for speaking to actual homeowners, another for speaking to renters that live in a neighborhood that you'll be door knocking at. And so I remember doing some door knocking when I was selling real estate, specifically when I was doing open houses, and it was definitely a nerve-wracking experience. In hindsight, I think a lot of these things I'll show you today would have been really beneficial, largely kind of calm some of those nerves, especially when you're about to give a homeowner some piece of information or a renter that's actually pretty valuable, and you can actually have some valuable conversations, interesting conversations, and try to drum up some business on top of the open house or other door knocking that you're doing currently. So let's hop into it. So the first thing that you'll do or make sure that you have is a Fidelity Total Farm account. If you don't, there's a link in the description to how to set up a Fidelity Total Farm account. It's free to do. It's a really great resource. If you've been watching videos by now, you're probably familiar with Fidelity Total Farm. So you'll need the desktop version initially, then the phone app, and that's what we'll use for door knocking. And then there's a couple of other resources that we use along this video. So the first is going to be as you're door knocking, and door knocking to property owners that have lived in a property for a long time, but they're owner occupied, and they're likely 55 years or older. So they can benefit from things like Proposition 19 specifically. There's a playlist on my channel that goes way more in depth on Prop 19 if you want to find out more. But in essence, it's legislation that allows property owners that are 55 years or older to sell the property they currently live in and buy a property of lower value, so maybe like a downsizing property, or greater value, so maybe it's stepping up into their dream home, and they can transfer their low property tax assessed value on that property to that new property. So what I was thinking you could do is start to door knock around open houses or wherever you're door knocking currently. Find the homeowners that have lived in properties for a long time, so they're owner occupied and have a low assessed value, and give them some valuable piece of information about Proposition 19 that you can easily just share with them right then and there when you're talking to them face to face. So how you can do that is first creating that farm. So what you'll do on the phone app is go to create a farm and then walking farm. And this is if, let's say, you're doing an open house and maybe it's in a new area. So I'm just going to zoom out and then create a farm for a neighborhood in San Pedro. Let's say I have an open house in the Point Fermin neighborhood of San Pedro down here. So what you can do is create a really easy walking farm within this app. You could also just locate yourself using this address at the top. I kind of did it the hard way by scrolling in on the map. But let's say that I wanted to door knock all along Denison and Kirkhoff, maybe even Carolina as well. So what I can do is select draw map down here at the bottom left of the screen, and I can in essence just draw the route that I want to walk. So let's just say I wanted to stick along this block right here, and I wanted to go basically track all of these doors, have conversations with people. So I just draw a line along the route of houses that I want to be door knocking to. I select next. I'll name it Open House Farm. I'll hit OK. And now this farm will be generated for me. Okay, so now this farm is created. It's actually broken down by green and red. So all the green icons are owner occupied. The red are non-owner occupied, so likely renters. So now I can go ahead and create this farm. I'll say go to farm. And now this farm is created for me. So the first group that I was thinking you could door knock to would be property owners, like I said, that have lived there for a long time, likely have a lot of equity, also likely have a low assessed value as well. So they're probably in prime position for things like Proposition 19, but also they're likely like other homeowners that might not be too aware of Prop 19 and its financial benefits. So that's what you can actually show them. So I wanted to give you a way where you can do that. So as you're door knocking, let's say you're starting here at 3114 South Denison, you can click on the address here. It's going to give you the owner's name when they bought the property. So they bought it in 1972. Sometimes the data can be a little wonky. So right now the sales price isn't tracking, so it's not a perfect science. And sometimes as well, the county assessor, some people will record the property without actually recording the sales price. Sometimes Total Farm just takes some time as well to get that data in. So maybe just give it some time. The farm will fully load in a bit. So here's a good example here. So we have a couple other examples of recent sales. So we'll start with this one, 3124 South Denison Ave, San Pedro. So I have the owner information here. I have when they bought the property, so 2010, for $400,000, and their total assessed value right here, which is $386,000. So let's say, just for Prop 19's sake, this property is now worth $900,000, right? So What they can now do is sell that property at $900,000, and let's say they want to step up to their dream house of $1.5 million. So normally that would be a total reassessment of their assessed tax value, right? Their new property tax assessed value would be roughly that $1.5 million. They'd be paying a lot more each year. But with Prop 19, it allows them to somewhat maintain that low property tax basis if they're doing a stepped up property to where their new property is greater than in value to their current property. So in this case, what they would do, let's just round this up to $400,000. They would take the difference between the $1.5 million and the $900,000, what they sold their property for. That's $600,000. I just did a quick mental math. If that's wrong, I apologize. But they'd add the $600,000 to this, let's say $400,000 for round math. Those two together is $1 million. So now their new assessed value on that next property they're buying is $1 million instead of $1.5 million. So let's just run with this example case to show you those numbers and show you the benefit. So what I'm thinking you can do is start door knocking to people, especially people that have lived there for a long time. And you can take this a step further actually and filter this farm out before you start door knocking. So where it says complete farm, you can click that drop down and then you can come down to where it says long-term homeowners. So this, I believe, is connected to the farm filter that is 25 plus years in property. So people that have lived in their home for a long time. And so let me try to find that one address that we were initially looking at. We could just run with this one probably here. So this one where they bought it in 2005 for $599,000 and the assessed value is $585,000. So what I'm thinking you can do is door knock and talk about Prop 19, its benefits. We have flyers for you if you want to do that. But on top of that, what you can do is go to lunatitle.com. You can go to menu and then you can go to technology and then you can go to Prop 19 calculator. So what this allows you to do is to actually create a Prop 19 calculator for a homeowner right then and there before you even approach the door using these apps. So what I can do now for this property that I'm about to door knock to, I can get this total assessed value number, so $585,000. I can put in the current sales price, so let's just give a number. We'll say it's $900,000. Not really sure this value, I'm just kind of guessing. And let's say I run two example cases, and this could just be me literally sitting on the sidewalk before I go approach the front door. I just run a couple of these example cases. We can do like a downsize, so maybe we'll say it's like a condo. With Prop 19 here, basically, if they don't take advantage of Prop 19, their property tax gets reassessed. So it's $7,000 instead of what it is now, $6,600. That's because if that replacement property is less than or current, or I guess equal to the current value of the property that they live in, there's no reassessment. They just get to maintain this low assessed value of $585,000. But where the benefit of Prop 19 comes from, let's say they buy a new property worth $1.5 million here. So now, if they didn't take advantage of Prop 19, their new property tax annual cost is $18,000. But with Prop 19, it's $13,000. And the difference increases each time, as the property value that they buy increases. So $24,000 versus $19,000. And you see that difference each time. But in essence, what you can do is either take a screenshot of this, or you have the ability to just text this to them really quick. But what I might do if I was you is save this on my phone and then send this to somebody as the fly, or just essentially show them this. So you can be having that conversation with them as you're door knocking and say, here's what Prop 19 is, explain it to them and say, here, by the way, are the numbers for Prop 19 if you were to take advantage of it. And then I can keep them in the loop down the road, put them in a database, whatever you want to do. But that's touch number one. So this can be for all the property owners in that farm area. And you can just make your way through here, get the different assessed values for each person, throw them in a calculator as you're approaching that door. The other thing, obviously, would be the non-owner occupieds. And so what you can do for that is come in here and maybe select absentee. And now it's going to give you a list of all the homeowners or the homes in that farm area where the owner themselves doesn't live in the property. If I want to be even more sure that it's likely rented out, I can select out of state. And now it's going to give me just the people that own a farm in that own a home in that farm area, but they don't live there. And what I can do with that is maybe just do a very simple rent versus buy calculator. I've shown this a bunch in the past. For this, I can use Fidelity Agent 1.4. There's another link in the description for that, to how to set up an account. Once you have that, you get access to all the features I'm about to show you now. So I can come in here. I can go to a calculator on this calculator tab at the bottom here. And then I can go rent versus buy. And what I can do is come in here and I can put in what their current rent is so I can have a conversation with them. I can say maybe if they're buying a property maybe that property that I'm doing the open house for. So let's say that open house is listed at $900,000. Maybe I look at the average rent in that, I think it's the Point Fermin area in San Pedro, and I see maybe the average rent is $4,000. So let's raise it a little bit for a home in there. And let's say the house that I'm doing the open house for is $900,000. I can change some of these assumptions as well. We'll change rent appreciation to 5%, hit compute. And now it's going to give me this rent versus buy calculator. It's going to show them when they're going to break even in 5 years, but show them in 10 years. Just the benefits of owning a property far outweigh the benefits of renting a property. And here you can just easily create a template out of this by clicking the share button at the top right, then send full report. Now you're door knocking. Now you're having a conversation with a renter. You're talking about their interest in buying, seeing if they want to come to the open house. You have this information you can easily just share with them, and I can click the share button at the top right of the screen, hit text. Now I can text this to this person and say, here, just what's your number? I'll text this to you really quick. Now you can kind of look through the benefits of owning and renting for a particular use case and come by my open house this Sunday or something like that. So ultimately, these can be two strategies for door knocking. And also the nice part too about the phone app for Fidelity Total Farm is it ultimately connects back to the desktop version here. So the same farm that I created in my phone is here now. So later, if I wanted to go back and look at some of those people that I talked to, or maybe I had good conversations with, and maybe I want to get their emails, I can purchase their emails through here, and I can throw it into CRM and start taking advantage of other campaigns that I might be doing. So ultimately, Fidelity Total Farm in itself is a great application. It's going to give you great data. It just comes up with the different use cases, right? And that's kind of the territory of having an understanding of how the real estate market is working, or different things that are impacting homeowners today, or renters, or basically all the things that you can talk about in being that real estate consultant for people in your community. So if you have any questions about this or have interest in setting this up for yourself, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to help.